Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Jacob Fatu stopped Solo Sikoa on WWE SmackDown tonight. The new WWE United States Champion was furious at the star. Appearing on SmackDown, Solo Sikoa said that he brought Jacob Fatu to WWE because he loved him, which was the only reason he was the champion. He was going about it, but Fatu took the mic from him. After Jacob Fatu grabbed the mic, Solo Sikoa was shocked. He was not prepared for it, and it showed on his face. The Samoan werewolf was upset with Sikoa and would not let him take credit for his title win. He said he had promised to win the WWE United States Championship and bring it back to the family. Fatu also said he'd do it with or without Solo Sikoa, exactly what he had done. Jacob said holding the title meant he had a target on his back and was well aware of that, but that didn't mean he would back off. LA Knight then interrupted him, who admitted that he had lost fair and square to Fatu. However, he was now worried about winning back the US title. He demanded a rematch, but he was not the only one, as Drew McIntyre stepped out. The star mentioned his win over Damian Priest and then demanded a US title match. Knight and McIntyre faced each other and were about to go at it when Nick Aldis told them they would face each other later in the night in a singles match to determine the next contender for Jacob Fatu's United States Championship. WWE SmackDown was already shaping up to be a blockbuster night, but no one, especially Solo Sikoa, could have predicted the earth-shattering moment that would leave the WWE Universe speechless. In a moment that will be replayed for years to come, Jacob Fatu suddenly stopped Solo Sikoa dead in his tracks, sending shockwaves through the bloodline and shifting the entire balance of power. The setup. The main event had all the makings of a classic. Solo Sikoa, now leading a reimagined version of the bloodline in Roman Reigns' absence, was scheduled to face LA Knight in a no-disqualification match. With Tama Tonga and Tangaloa by his side, Solo had grown into an unrelenting force, becoming more ruthless by the week. Jacob Fatu had debuted weeks earlier, instantly grabbing attention with his monstrous intensity and terrifying athleticism. Although he had been aligned with Solo, fans had begun to sense tension brewing between the two dominant Samoan warriors. The question wasn't if something would go wrong, it was when. The match begins. The bell rang, and Solo exploded into the match, pummeling LA Knight with everything he had. The crowd was firmly behind Knight, chanting his name as he fought back valiantly. Kendo sticks, steel chairs, and tables came into play as both men battered each other in an all-out war. Solo looked poised to win, setting up for the Samoan spike as the fans booed in unison. Just as Solo lifted his hand, preparing to finish LA Knight for good, Jacob Fatu stormed the ring. At first, it seemed like he was there to help. The crowd roared, sensing a brutal tandem attack. But then something happened that stunned everyone. The turning point. Jacob Fatu stood between Solo and LA Knight, glaring into Solo's eyes. The tension in the arena was palpable. Solo shouted, "Move!" But Jacob didn't budge. Instead, he shook his head slowly. The crowd gasped. Solo took a step forward, fury in his eyes, but before he could say another word, Jacob Fatu struck. He grabbed Solo by the throat and delivered a brutal pop-up Samoan drop, shaking the ring. Michael Cole screamed, "What is happening?" The commentary team was in disbelief. Jacob Fatu just laid out Solo Sikoa. The enforcer has just turned on the man leading the bloodline. Aftermath in the ring. Tama Tonga and Tangaloa rushed the ring, but Jacob was ready. He speared Tanga into the turnbuckle and leveled Tama with a devastating superkick followed by a moonsault. The Samoan werewolf stood tall over all three men as the crowd erupted into a "Holy S" chant. LA Knight, barely able to move, crawled over Solo and draped an arm across him. The referee hesitated for a second, still in shock, but then counted. 1, 2, 3. LA Knight had won, but all eyes were on Jacob Fatu. The camera cuts backstage. Backstage, Paul Heyman, ever the manipulator, was seen watching from a monitor, eyes wide with a mixture of horror and intrigue. Kathy Kelly attempted to get a word from him, but Heyman silently walked away, his face pale. Was this all part of Heyman's plan, or had things spiraled beyond even his control? Jacob Fatu grabs a mic. As Met extended to Solo, Jacob grabbed a microphone. Breathing heavily, he looked into the camera and said, "This is not the bloodline. This is a lie built on fear. You made us dogs, Solo. You chained us to your war. But me? I'm no dog. I'm a wolf. And I answer to no one." He dropped the mic and walked out through the crowd, fans cheering him like a conquering hero. Solo Sikoa, still recovering, looked on in disbelief as his supposed enforcer turned his back on him, publicly, definitively, and violently. Fallout and speculation. The wrestling world immediately exploded on social media. #JacobFatu trended globally, with fans praising WWE for pulling the trigger on a storyline twist that no one saw coming. Some speculated that Jacob Fatu might be aligning with Roman Reigns in secret. Others wondered if this was his way of carving out a new dynasty, a Samoan empire separate from the bloodline. Backstage reports hinted that Solo Sikoa was not informed about the precise timing of Jacob's betrayal, adding a rawness to the stunned look on his face. The bloodline, once united and terrifying, now looked fractured and vulnerable. What happens next? In the days that followed, WWE officials announced that Solo Sikoa would address the betrayal on the next episode of SmackDown. The entire locker room was reportedly shaken, with some stars expressing concern about what Jacob Fatu might do next. Is he going solo? Starting a new faction? Or has Paul Heyman once again orchestrated a masterstroke behind the scenes? Meanwhile, Roman Reigns remained silent. No tweets. No promos. No public comments. And that silence spoke volumes. Conclusion. Jacob Fatu's shocking turn on Solo Sikoa has ignited a powder keg within WWE. With one sudden, untelegraphed move, Fatu transformed from an enforcer into a main event star. Solo Sikoa may have been building his empire, but now, the foundations have cracked, and the wolf is on the loose. The only thing certain now is chaos. The bloodline's future is more uncertain than ever, and Jacob Fatu just made himself the most dangerous man in WWE. Would you like to explore what happens on the following SmackDown when Roman Reigns finally returns to confront Jacob Fatu and Solo? 3 decisions Solo Sikoa could make to save his bloodline. It's safe to say that Solo Sikoa's bloodline has a lot of work to do to regain the power it once had in WWE. However, there are still some avenues he can pursue in hopes of revitalizing the group he formed last year. Solo Sikoa formed a new version of the bloodline last year after Roman Reigns lost the undisputed WWE Universal Championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania XL. He added Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa to the group and removed Jimmy Uso and Paul Heyman. However, the Samoan werewolf emerged out of Solo's shadows after Sikoa lost the Ula Fala to Roman Reigns on Raw's Netflix debut. Despite the tension between Solo and Jacob in recent months, there may still be hope for the group to return to its former glory. In this list, we will look at 3 decisions Solo Sikoa can make to revitalize his bloodline in WWE. 3. Solo Sikoa can name Jacob Fatu as the new leader. As mentioned above, there has been tension between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu in the past few months. After the Street Champion lost to Roman earlier this year, he went away for a while, leading to the Tribal Wolf calling the shots in his absence. The Samoan werewolf also had fewer restraints placed on him, leading to him winning the United States Championship at WrestleMania 41. Seeing that Jacob, the only champion in the group, has established his dominance on the roster, Solo can decide to make Fatu the new leader in hopes that his individual success can resonate with the faction. 2. Solo Sikoa can add new faces to his bloodline. At the moment, the new bloodline consists of the Tongans, Jacob, and Solo. However, Tama and Tonga are currently out of action due to their respective injuries. Their absence is a good opportunity for Solo to add new names to the group. It has been reported that Hikuleo, son of Haku and a relative of the Tongans, signed with a Stamford-based promotion last year, as did Lance Anoa'i. With the former North American Champions group missing 2 members, it can be a good time to finally introduce these 2 new names. 1. Solo Sikoa can attempt to rekindle his relationship with Roman Reigns. Roman and Solo have not crossed paths since their tribal combat in January 2025. Although this doesn't mean they have forgiven each other, time can heal wounds. Solo can see that Roman has a big problem on his hands, thanks to the newly formed alliance of Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and Braun Breaker. Sikoa can offer to fix things with the OTC and, in return, let the 39-year-old lead his bloodline. Solo Sikoa stands at a crossroads. With Roman Reigns absent, the bloodline teetering on collapse, and the WWE Universe questioning the faction's future, Solo is no longer just the enforcer, he's the heir to a crumbling empire. With internal betrayal, external threats, and Jacob Fatu's shocking pinfall loss shaking the faction to its core, Solo must now make bold decisions to not just lead the bloodline, but save it. Here are 3 creative decisions Solo Sikoa could make to preserve and elevate the bloodline. 1. Exile and redemption, kicking out Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. Tama Tonga and Tangaloa were brought into the bloodline as reinforcements, but their brutal tactics and reckless aggression have stirred controversy and chaos. Instead of strengthening the faction, their presence has created tension among fans and even within the locker room. Most recently, their interference led to Jacob Fatu's unexpected loss, a first in WWE and a shocking blemish on the bloodline's aura of invincibility. Solo Sikoa, realizing the damage their presence is causing, could make the shocking decision to exile Tama and Tanga from the bloodline. The move wouldn't just be about removing weak links, it would be about recentering the faction's identity. By exiling the brothers in a dramatic fashion, perhaps following a public brawl or a backstage betrayal, Solo sends a message: the bloodline is about loyalty, not chaos. This purge could lead to a storyline where Tama and Tanga seek revenge, maybe even aligning with Paul Heyman or defecting to Raw. Solo could then extend an olive branch to Jacob Fatu, offering him full leadership of the warrior class of the bloodline while Solo handles diplomacy and legacy. This separation of power makes the faction more layered, organized, and stable. Why it works: it creates internal conflict, which always makes for compelling storytelling, while also framing Solo as a decisive and strategic leader, one willing to make painful choices for the greater good. 2. Recruit a surprising ally. Naomi returns as the matriarch of the bloodline. The bloodline has always been male-dominated, but with cracks forming, Solo could look to freshen the faction's identity by bringing in a surprising yet deeply meaningful ally, Naomi. As Jimmy Uso's wife, Naomi's bloodline connection is legitimate. But what makes this decision strategic is her character evolution. Upon returning, Naomi could abandon her bubbly persona and embrace a darker, more calculating role. Dressed in regal Samoan-inspired attire, she would act as the voice of reason in the faction, the new matriarch. She could manage ringside affairs, manipulate contracts, and serve as Solo's advisor, subtly shaping feuds and storylines from the shadows. Her presence would also lure in babyface challengers who underestimate her, only to fall into her psychological traps. This change allows WWE to finally use Naomi's talent at a higher level while elevating the bloodline with a much-needed female presence. With Rhea Ripley out of action and Liv Morgan on the rise, Naomi could eventually set her sights on the women's world title, bringing gold back to the family. Why it works: this adds dimension and diversity to the faction, introducing fresh rivalries and helping the bloodline evolve from a brute force gang to a multi-layered dynasty with both brains and brawn. 3. Offer Roman Reigns a rebirth storyline: you come back, or we burn it all. While the bloodline's downfall was accelerated by Roman Reigns' absence, his shadow still looms large. But Solo knows the tribal chief won't stay gone forever. Instead of resisting Roman's return, or passively awaiting, Solo could take the bold step of forcing Roman's hand. He could publicly declare that the bloodline no longer needs a tribal chief, they need a war chief. In a powerful segment on SmackDown, Solo could kneel in the ring, surrounded by Jacob Fatu, Naomi, and loyal foot soldiers, and address Roman directly. We bled for you. We were your shields. You left. So now, we rise. Come back, and take your place at our side. Or watch the bloodline become something you can't control. You come back. Or we burn it all. This ultimatum creates suspense. Will Roman return as a face to reclaim his empire, or as a heel to destroy what he once built? Solo forces the hand of WWE's biggest star while positioning himself as a character who transcends the enforcer role. He's now a spiritual leader. As the weeks go by, Solo can escalate, burning Roman's merch, stripping him of his ceremonial label, and even forging a new title, the Bloodline Sovereign's Belt, symbolizing independence from Roman's legacy. Why it works: it creates a long-term arc that reintroduces Roman Reigns in dramatic fashion and allows for a power struggle that could culminate at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Fans get closure, and the bloodline evolves. Bonus twist: Solo Sikoa becomes a reluctant hero. While all 3 decisions place Solo in control, they subtly shift his character from a silent brute to a complex anti-hero. Fans will start to view him not just as Roman's enforcer, but as someone capable of independent leadership, pain, and vision. He isn't trying to destroy the bloodline for power, he's trying to save his family from itself. By taking these steps, exiling chaos, embracing new blood, and redefining legacy, Solo Sikoa may not just save the bloodline. He may turn it into something even more powerful than what Roman Reigns built. And that is the kind of story that could carry WWE into the next era. 3 reasons Jacob Fatu is in danger from his best friend. Jacob Fatu made headlines when he picked up a victory against LA Knight at WrestleMania 41 to become the new United States champion. The Samoan star has been on a roll for the past few months and is considered to be one of the most dominant forces on the blue brand. Fatu had a few collisions with Braun Strowman on the road to WrestleMania, and every single match between them left the world in awe. While the Bloodline saga, which once dominated WWE, is no longer the company's top storyline, Jacob Fatu has undoubtedly managed to keep it relevant. During the road to WrestleMania, WWE teased massive tensions between Fatu and the former leader of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, after the latter lost his Ulafala to Roman Reigns during WWE Raw's debut episode on Netflix. The tension is still visible between the two, but their intensity has declined a lot over the past few weeks, specifically after WrestleMania. However, it still cannot be ruled out that Solo Sikoa is a major threat to Jacob Fatu in his United States Championship reign. Let's check out a few reasons why. Number 3. Solo Sikoa is envious of Jacob Fatu taking his spot. Since Sikoa's loss to Roman Reigns back in January, the star has been losing his position as one of the top names on the blue brand. Jacob Fatu has taken up his position and has cemented it with his United States Championship victory. With Fatu replacing Sikoa as one of the top names on the roster, the latter could be jealous of his former subordinate's success. This could be a big reason why Solo Sikoa could turn on Jacob in the next few weeks, potentially beginning a feud that could intrigue fans. 2. Jacob Fatu trusts Solo Sikoa once again. While Jacob Fatu has been tasting a lot of success lately, the biggest mistake he has made is forgetting the past. Fatu has forgotten about the tensions and anger he had with the former tribal chief of the Bloodline when the latter walked away following his loss on the first episode of Raw of 2025. Rather than keeping it in mind, Fatu let bygones be bygones and started trusting Sikoa once again, which could end up being a nightmare for him. With Sikoa gaining Fatu's trust, a massive betrayal might be on the horizon. 1. Solo Sikoa wanting to take control of the Bloodline once again. The Bloodline story has stalled out after Tama Tonga injured himself and is now out of action for a few months. With just Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa in the picture and tension seemingly growing between them, it is clear that there is no control over the Bloodline story. Solo Sikoa might want to take the wheel once again and could do anything to bring one of the most dangerous factions in history back to TV. With Fatu being a champion, he might want to be the new leader of the faction with Sikoa beside him. This might be a possible reason why the Enforcer turns his back on the new United States champion and takes him down to make headlines. Fans will have to wait and see what WWE has in store for both stars next. In the high-stakes, backstabbing world of WWE, friendships are as fragile as championship reigns. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf and the destructive force recently injected into the Bloodline's evolving chaos, has made an instant impact. But in this unstable empire built on loyalty and betrayal, even the fiercest warriors must watch their backs, especially when the threat comes not from enemies but from those closest to them. Jacob Fatu has always prided himself on loyalty, brutality, and brotherhood. But his greatest asset, his bond with his best friend, may also become his greatest liability. Let's dive into 3 chilling reasons Jacob Fatu is in real danger from his own best friend. 1. Jealousy brewing beneath the surface. Fatu didn't walk into WWE quietly. He exploded onto the scene, laying waste to established stars and aligning himself with the restructured Bloodline led by Solo Sikoa. In weeks, Fatu became the monster fans feared and management adored, a dominant figure who brought legitimacy back to the Bloodline in Roman Reigns' absence. But behind the curtain, his best friend, a fellow Samoan powerhouse from the independents, has watched all of this unfold with increasing frustration. They started in the trenches together, wrestling in dusty warehouses and gymnasiums, promising each other they'd make it to the top side by side. Only Jacob did. His friend, still grinding and largely overlooked, is now caught in the shadow of Fatu's meteoric rise. Worse, he believes he paved the way for Jacob, introducing him to key contacts, vouching for him, and being his biggest supporter. But once Fatu signed, the calls stopped. The messages became sparse. And the spotlight? It turned away from the friend entirely. What was once admiration has twisted into envy, and envy is the seed of betrayal in the world of WWE. 2. A silent power struggle inside the Bloodline. While the new era of the Bloodline feels like Solo Sikoa's kingdom, Jacob Fatu is the one fans are truly rallying behind. His chaotic energy, unmatched physicality, and wild charisma have made him an instant fan favorite, and possibly a threat to Solo's rule. But there's one person more disturbed by Fatu's rising influence than Solo himself, his best friend, who has recently signed with WWE under the radar. Sources say WWE has quietly brought him in for training at the Performance Center. The rumors swirling suggest he's being molded to serve as a surprise addition to the bloodline, or to undermine it from within. He's kept his return low-key, which is exactly how a wolf hides among sheep. The dynamic is familiar: one brother ascends, the other watches from the shadows. But this time, he's not content with being the right-hand man or a background player. Fatu's dominance is a direct obstacle to his best friend's ambitions, and it may force his hand. Their bond could soon become a battlefield, especially if Fatu starts receiving the main event opportunities his friend has long dreamed of. The internal politics of the bloodline are already volatile. One whispered word from Paul Heyman or Solo, and Jacob could find himself sacrificed for the sake of balance. And who better to carry out that hit than someone who knows his every move? 3. The past they never dealt with. Their friendship isn't without scars. Years ago, long before WWE, Jacob and his best friend had a falling out over a controversial match booking on the indie scene. Fatu had been offered a high-profile main event match. His friend had expected to be chosen instead. Backstage egos flared. Words were exchanged. Trust was cracked, though never fully shattered. Jacob tried to make amends. He insisted the booking wasn't his choice. He offered to put his friend over the next night. But the damage was done, and though they patched things up on the surface, a quiet resentment festered underneath. Now, with Jacob in WWE, thrust into a major faction and possibly being groomed as the next tribal chief, that old wound has reopened. His best friend sees Jacob's success as a betrayal of the very brotherhood they built. He believes Fatu sold out, traded their dream of storming WWE together for individual glory. And nothing is more dangerous in wrestling than a man who feels betrayed by someone he once trusted with his life. There are whispers his friend is planning a shocking return at an upcoming WWE PLE, one where he'll confront Fatu publicly and accuse him of forgetting where he came from. But it won't just be a war of words. This friend knows Fatu's weaknesses, the injuries he hides, the moves he telegraphs, and, most importantly, his emotional blind spots. Fatu is a monster in the ring. But against someone who knows his soul? He could be broken. Conclusion: when brotherhood turns to war. Jacob Fatu may be the scariest man on SmackDown right now, but true danger doesn't always come charging from the front. Sometimes, it creeps up behind you, wearing the familiar smile of a friend. The bloodline is a battlefield of family, honor, and power. And while Fatu has carved a fearsome path for himself, he may soon find himself facing the most personal threat of all, a best friend turned bitter rival, ready to end his reign before it ever truly begins.